On this episode of iFilmmaker, I introduce to you my new co-host, Mike McCoy, and we talk about his new camera purchasing options. Welcome to another episode of iFilmmaker. My name's Ariel Martinez, and today we have an episode of sorts. I'm very excited about this one, and we're just gonna jump right into it. I want you guys to say hello to my new co-host on the podcast, Mike McCoy.
Hey.
And, I know I told them to say hello, but they can't. So just imagine a bunch of people telling you to hello. So
Okay. All right. I'll deal with that. I'll do that as my first introduction.
there you go. Hey man, just give us a quick, I guess, rundown of your background in videography and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. I guess if your viewers got me today, it's probably one of the worst days. I've basically pulled an all-nighter before we get started. So if I sound a little groggy or a little bit off, I've been editing till like 9 a.m. this morning. So things are a little bit rusty for me right now, Ariel.
Sounds good, man.
Yeah. But, anyway,
you sound like a filmmaker.
a freelance filmmaker that has to do everything.
Yeah.
So to give you like a very brief background and why I have a funny Australian accent is basically I started my my videography career as many do, where I was in law school back in 2011 or so, freaking out thinking I don't really know what I want to do, and decided among many things to try to pick up a camera and start shooting. Lo and behold, I started getting paid for those gigs. One thing led to another. Started picking up more video work, and then finally decided, why am I doing this law thing when I can travel and shoot video?
Wait, you were in law school?
I was in law school, yeah.
So, snap.
I'm basically one of those people that did all those degrees and threw them away and did nothing with them in the end. Decided to, go ahead.
The more I get to know you, man, the more I wasn't in law school, but I have my degree in criminal justice.
Oh, really? Okay.
The more I get to know you, the more I realize how very similar our backgrounds are.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how many people actually start degrees, think they're going in one direction, then all of a sudden something happens, and life takes a U-turn. So I basically continued shooting for several years. Majority of the stuff I did back then, I'm still freelance to this day, but majority of things I was shooting in Australia was basically for a company called CrossFit. I was writing articles for them, and then that kind of parlayed into just shooting video on the side. Then I realized that the paychecks for video were a lot higher than for writing articles. So I continued to do that more and more. And then next thing you know, I basically became a full-time freelancer, not by any real decision or anything. I just started realizing, man, I've got all this work. So was it about a year and a bit ago, I decided, you know what, I'm spending so much time in the United States shooting. I would generally come out for 3 months, 4 months over the summer, and then I was picking up a lot of freelance gigs after I would do that. And I thought, what's the point of me staying in Australia when I'm picking up so much work in the United States? So it was January of last year, I moved to New York City, where I'm now based in Brooklyn, and living that freelance lifestyle.
Sounds like fun, man.
Yeah.
Sounds like fun. I've always wanted to go to Australia. It's in my bucket list. Sounds like fun.
Road mics can make that happen.
Road, dude. How do these Rode broadcaster microphones sound?
Well, I mean, I feel like you're making me feel at home. I mean, Rode's an Australian product, so I'm glad that you're representing it. And I will say that every time I've dealt with Rode when I was living back in Australia, great company to deal with, really user-friendly. And anytime you have an issue, I love being able to go down to their factory and actually drop anything off and get my repairs done. So I'm a big fan of Rode.
And for those of you that don't have the luxury of going to Australia to deal with Rode, I can attest to the fact that they are very helpful in their customer service. So there's that. All right, man. You're shooting on the FS5.
I am, actually. We're both shooting on the FS5.
Yeah, man. I loved when we first for those of you that don't remember, back in January, I was posting a lot about this big event that I was shooting over at in Miami. It's called Wadapalooza. It's a big CrossFit event, and I was posting.
CrossFit is a functional fitness event.
Right. That and well, to me, and I guess at the time, and I'm still very not too knowledgeable on the whole CrossFit world. To me, it's just I just call it a CrossFit event. Um, but we were shooting a lot, and that's where you and I first started working together, and we noticed that we had a lot of the same gear, and we could talk for hours and hours on gear.
Yeah, I'm one of those big gearheads. I mean, I think though there was three of us shooting, and all three of us were on the FS5.
Exactly.
I think that was kind of that's really the transition. I started seeing everyone kind of flip over from. Did you used to shoot on Canon?
I used to shoot on Canon.
Yeah, I mean that was a big transition for me.
Right.
I was one of the original kind of 5D Mark II guys, and then that parlayed into the 5D Mark III. And then when eventually I started shooting on that Cinema series line. But when they didn't upgrade to like 50 and 60p for that slow motion, I started realizing, you know what, it's probably time to make a jump. And so reluctantly, very reluctantly, I switched over to Sony, and basically I'm shooting all Sony now. It was sad to see my Canon go away, but anyone that knows anything about shooting lately, they can see Canon just has not been keeping up to par with Sony. Sony just are killing it lately.
Yep. And but what impressed me even more is like, all right, so we all three of us shot on the FS5, but we also had a lot of the same equipment, like accessories.
Right.
We all had small HD monitors. We all had our Sony secondary cameras, the same backpacks, same cables, a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah, pretty much.
So it's funny because we took a picture of it. We laid everything out like how we were shooting. It was very, very similar.
I mean, I don't even think you realize how much gear I stole of yours. Yeah.
Oh man. I was about to tell you the same thing.
Oh, what?
We all gain. You lose some, you win some, you lose some. All right, so we have a big announcement that you and I have been waiting for this for a long time. For a long time. I've been very excited. Actually, the past couple of days, I've been like, when is this coming out? I cannot wait. And that is the release of the firmware update for the Sony FS5.
Yeah, finally. They said it was going to be July. They waited to right at the end.
Yes. Yep. But it does come with some confusion. Not confusion, I guess, letdown. All right, so here are the highlighted features. The main features is it's gonna now the Sony FS5 is gonna have better support for the high dynamic range, the HDR shooting. It's gonna have that hybrid log gamma, which I'm still not very knowledgeable on. I'm sure I'll get to know that a little bit better. That's cool. It's gonna have now when shoot, and this is a big one actually, the shooting S-Log2 or S-Log3, which I'm always shooting S-Log2 for the most part. Now you can bring your ISO down to 2000 as opposed to keeping it up at 3200.
I like that.
That's a big deal. Especially when shooting outdoors. You can now bring that ISO down to 2000, and that's big. That's really, really big. And the biggest is continuous 120 frames per second recording at 1080p. However, that specific one is going to cost $500. That one feature alone. And I'm like, this is something I felt that they should have had that from the get-go anyways. Because, I mean, even my Sony a6300 has it. The a7S Mark II has it. Your a6500 has it. These are small mirrorless cameras, but the FS5 does not have it. It only has it in a buffer, in a 8-second buffer, which I always thought was, I understand 240 frames, but 120 frames, continuous 1080p, come on. I'm sure they could have managed that.
Yeah, the one thing that I was really excited to see that this, they didn't announce pricing when I saw it get, the information came out about this earlier this year that they were going to have constant 120 frames per second.
Right.
And to see it pop up today for $4.99 for the update. I had no idea. I thought it was actually going to be like they said that there was going to be a charge for it.
Yeah.
I had no idea it was going to be around, well, when you add tax, it's like around $550 US.
Yeah.
So
And it's
for
already
120,
it's here in B&H. I already see it. It's just Sony 120 frames per second, high frame rate upgrade.
but you can't purchase it yet though. It's a
It's a pre-order. It's a pre-order.
Yeah. So when is it coming out? So supposedly it's available today.
It
So,
says available August 2nd. Specifically says expected availability August 2nd, 2017. So,
but wait, I can download the firmware update today though. Just not.
I think
not
so.
purchase
Yeah,
it.
just not the high frame rate. So I guess we can start testing out the new ISO sensitive, the ISO levels when shooting S-Log 2 and 3, and I guess what the HDR recording does.
I mean, I don't know about that. I mean, it's a little bit disheartening, especially when I know my Sony 6500 does already,
Yep.
120 frames per second constant anyway. It's crazy that on a camera this expensive that we're now paying. I don't mind paying for an upgrade, but $550 to pay for just to get that 120 frame rate. Yeah. I mean, will you bite the bullet and do it?
I don't know. I think I'm right there with you, man, because at 120, I remember when I was shooting, actually, I was shooting at Wadapalooza and I was shooting on the A7S Mark II, and I was shooting at 120. It looked really, really nice. But here's the thing. On the A6300, at least on mine, it doesn't look as good. The 120 frames continuous recording. So I don't know. I mean, I have, maybe if it also does it externally, because again, remember I shoot on my on the Odyssey 7Q Plus, so I can get that ProRes 4K, and I love doing it. And even at 60 frames per second continuous, I get that 4K ProRes, beautiful, looks great. If that also includes 120 with that upgrade, then yeah, I'd be more inclined to consider it. But if it doesn't, I don't know. I don't think, because I very seldomly do I shoot HD for certain projects. I like to have 4K, even if it's for the purpose of having a sharper image. For me, I think it's worth it. Okay. But that's why I mostly shoot 4K and deliver 1080. So I don't know how useful. Maybe if a project comes along that, it's worth it. That's usually how I end up deciding to purchase equipment anyways. So for example, like at the Granite Games, that's coming up, if you guys need me to have it, then I guess I'll make that purchase. But
yeah, I mean, I shoot a lot of sport. I mean, majority of the stuff I'm shooting is sport. So having that high frame rate there is great. Yeah, but if it's indoors, then you're keeping that 180 degree rule, and you're doubling your shutter, so you're at 240 shutter rate at 120 frames. If you're indoors, that can be it's a little bit dark at times. Right. So I mean, how much you're going to really use that? And if you're cutting like a highlight video, it's great to have, but really, when you slow it down, I'm finding 50 and 60p is kind of more than enough. I mean, if it was maybe $250, I'd consider it.
Exactly.
500. I might I might bite the bullet on it, but I don't know. At $550 just to get that 120 frames when I already have the Sony like 6500, and I can kind of I could use that. I don't know.
That's the same price that the external RAW recording was when it came out.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the same price that we had to pay to get external RAW shooting, which I think it's a much more prestigious feature compared to 120 frames.
Yeah, but you got to take into account. I mean, how much extra? That's just to get the raw recording on it, but then you have to get you have to get like an Odyssey like that you have, and then you have to get the memory for it.
Right? No. Yeah, I'm talking about. Let's say that's not even a factor. Let's put that aside, because I know that Sony's not even thinking about that. But to just have the ability to shoot external RAW, and then obviously on whatever monitor / recorder that you're using, you would either keep the RAW or grab the RAW signal and convert that into a ProRes 422 file, or whatever you want to convert that to, from the raw signal, it just gives you a lot more information in your image, in your shot. To have that alone, I think that is definitely much more prestigious than just simply having the slow motion of 120 frames at HD. So I don't think that the value of 500 is definitely not justifiable here compared to the previous upgrade that that I had to get.
So really, what you're only getting for free, I could be wrong, but am I right to say basically what you're getting for free if you do the version 4.0 update today? I haven't tried it yet, but I hope you can download it today.
Right.
Is basically you're getting the high dynamic range shooting, which I don't even know if I'll use. I don't know enough about that yet.
Yeah, me neither.
And then the ability to just literally change from when you're shooting in S-Log 2 or 3, the ability to change the ISO from 3200 down to 2000.
Which, even then, I mean, it's free. I think obviously it's great to have that. Like I said, shooting outdoors, most of the time I'm shooting S-Log 2 anyways. And you don't know this, but the Odyssey, I can only shoot S-Log 2 on the Odyssey. And unfortunately, and another limitation of the Odyssey is I can only shoot in S gamut 5500 Kelvin or S gamut 3200 Kelvin. So that's also a limit in terms of color temperature. But I mean, even then, my image comes out fantastic with my Odyssey. But still, I mean, if it was to maybe give me the 120 frames, even though, I mean, I would even save the money and just continue on the buffer. I still get 120 and even 240 frames per second raw output on a buffer, which is great. Which is great. So I don't know. I don't know if I would spend it. I would just I would stick with the buffer.
Yeah, see, I really don't know because I'm already looking at buying. Yeah, I mean, my second camera at the moment, my main camera is the FS5. The A6500 is kind of like my B camera. But I'm really looking at the moment. I've been holding off this whole year at buying a second camera. So because usually when my FS5 is on a gimbal, I'm usually shooting on the Ronin. Then having an extra camera that I can just quickly do handheld stuff as well is beneficial. And while I like the 6500, that's a great little camera. Having a full professional camera that I can actually use in a professional manner as opposed to trying to use that the crappy LCD on the back is a huge advantage. So I'm looking at a second camera, and so when I take into account it's an extra $550. With so many other cameras like the C200 coming out, what's Panasonic's? What's that?
The
one
Panasonic
called?
Evo 1.
Yeah, with that coming out as well this year, it's kind of leading me do I stick in that FS5 category? Or?
Yeah. Here's what you should consider though. Now, I know you mentioned this to me before, but I didn't see it. I didn't know that you were looking for a second camera to have standby on the gimbal. Here's what I would recommend you to do, because you have to consider this. If your camera's on a gimbal, you have to consider the autofocus or the focusing period. If you plan to use the autofocus, right, which I don't know, I'm assuming that's what you're planning on doing, unless you're going to have manual focus and then have it like on a thumbstick somewhere where you'll be controlling the focus as you maneuver. Is that what you plan to do?
Well, the way I have my FS5 generally set up at the moment, it's on the Ronin, and I bought a little accessory. Who was it? I forgot the name of the company. They made a little rosette for it, and so one of the handles that I have, instead of having the actual DJI Ronin handles on it, I have a little rosette that attaches to the handle on the FS5, so I can actually pull manual focus on my lenses through that handle. So I actually flip back and forth between manual and autofocus depending on what I'm doing or if I'm chasing somebody.
Is that the ICANN ICANN follow focus system?
No, it's not the ICANN.
So this is a handle that you can attach to your Ronin, and you can control the focus from there manually.
Yeah, basically, because the FS5 has the handle on the right hand side, yeah,
Okay.
the grip.
The side handle.
So yeah, so it has there's a rosette that I attach. I take one of the actual handles off of the Ronin, and then I attach my actual camera handle
Oh.
on it through a rosette, and so then I can pull focus and pull focus that way. So, but I generally flip back and forth depending on what I'm doing. So I'm generally going manual focus, and then I'm sometimes using autofocus.
Well, wait a minute. You can pull focus from your side handle?
Yeah.
Huh.
Is this news to you?
Is it using the wheel that
Yeah.
controls the iris?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah, I think
it's a great little setup, and everyone that's had an FS5 that's seen me using it on a gimbal have immediately purchased it.
okay, so here's the thing. I remember I saw
Oh, it's
that feature. When I
yep.
was playing with my camera one day, I discovered it.
Hmm.
And I saw that what it would do. I can, use the focus. I thought it was really cool, but never did I imagine to even use it like that because I wasn't thinking about putting it on a gimbal with the handle on the side.
Mm.
But for the longest time, I've always wondered, putting my camera on a gimbal, how am I going to possibly pull focus? I would need to buy another wireless follow focus and have it on the side as a thumb, one of those things. It's kind of pricey. It's just more things to worry about. But I completely forgot about that feature.
What, you're not at the level like Ariel that you actually can afford a focus puller?
No, man. I think we go run and gun here, man. We're a one-man band all the time.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons specifically why I liked having the FS5 on the gimbal. And it's actually
Yes.
that's right. It's from Wooden Camera. So if anyone's look, yeah, you can go check out Wooden Camera's
I might need
website,
I
and they
might need
make a
to look
rosette
into
for it.
that.
Yeah, I mean that's become like yeah, it's become invaluable for me, especially because the FS5 with that grip has the strap on it. So when I'm running and chasing after athletes as they run down the field, I'm sprinting after them. Even if I lose the actual Ronin on my left hand side, that grip keeps it on my keeps the Ronin totally in my hand, and with the ability to pull that focus, it's fantastic. So,
Wow.
but I'm still, I mean, at the moment, I'm still really considering what I really want to get a second camera. That's yeah, like I said, a professional camera that I'm using as my B camera as well. And I was really looking forward to this upgrade to see what was going to happen, how much they were going to charge, and see if I stick with the FS5 or if I actually go to something else. So, which actually makes me wonder now, if you buy a new FS5, will it come with that upgrade?
I don't think so. I don't think so because already the FS5 was had increased in price, and right now it's more expensive than it originally was. I think the original price for the FS5 was 6,000, and now it is or was it 5,000? I can't remember now.
I can't remember either.
I think, man, was it when it first came out? I want to say maybe a little bit over 5,000. Mail-in rebate of 1,000, 4,000.
Well, I bought mine in Australia, so I mean, we can't even do the
Now I can't
calculation.
remember how much the FS5 costs. I want to say, I'm not sure. I want to say 6,000. But now it's at 5,750. Maybe it just lowered. Now I'm having like,
Oh, hold on a second. I'm just looking at B&H's site. I see right now you can get $1,000 rebate.
yeah, I just saw that.
And so until July 31st at B&H, so that brings it down to
That
47.49.
means you have 10 days to make your decision.
Yeah, but see, you know what always runs through my mind when they do that? I'm always thinking, is there going to be an FS5 version 2 coming out shortly? It's that always conundrum.
Welcome to the industry, brother. Welcome to the here it is. All right, so the FS5 raw output upgrade, $500 still. It enables FS5 DCI 4K 2K raw recording, 4K raw at 23, 25, 30, 50 and 60 frames per second, 2K raw at 100 and from 100 to 240 frames per second, simultaneously record 4K and 2K RAW and AVC HD, and 4 seconds of 4K RAW, 120 frames.
Interesting.
You see all those features that they include for $500? That is worth it. Enabling one feature at 1080p, 120 frames per second for $500 for the same price? Come on, man. You see what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's disappointing, especially when you can jump in and get a 6500, the Sony 6500, and it has that automatically in there. Yeah. So
Yeah. I don't know why they would do that. Like, what? I really doubt that that's going to do very well.
Well, I mean, if the long-awaited rumors, everyone thought an FS5 version 2 was going to come out this year. And, I mean, it hasn't been announced yet, but seeing that there's $1,000 rebate, I mean, I can only hope. Yeah.
It might. It still might. There's still time. But anyways, I think that, I mean, I don't understand the why they're charging $500 for that, but I mean, we'll see. I know obviously now the more I think about it, the less likely I am that I'm gonna get that. So,
well, yeah, I'll debate it. I was planning on buying it. I mean, in my mind, I thought if it's under $300, I'll definitely pull the trigger. But at $500, I think I don't know. We'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks if I decide to pull the trigger. But especially, I'm like, maybe I'll hold back because trying to decide I want that second camera, or really third camera.
Right.
So I don't know. I think I'm going to hold off for the moment.
Gotcha.
I've got plenty of other things I want to spend my money on.
Oh, there's a ton. So another thing that we're starting to do now on the podcast is we are implementing video.
Ooh.
That's funny. I say it's funny because, as I was telling you, the reason I started the podcast is because, before I started the podcast, I was making videos to try and answer questions that were being asked. And, I wanted to try and help out as many people as I possibly can that are asking me all these questions on, videography and filmmaking and all that, gear questions, how I shoot certain stuff, etc. And I couldn't possibly sit there on social media, more specifically, Instagram, to answer all these questions. So I started trying to make videos to answer these questions. But what happened is that these videos were becoming much more time consuming for me. And that's when I said, I started seeing a couple of filmmaking podcasts. I saw some people had started them, and I just thought that was a good idea. These are simple questions that I'm just trying to answer and not trying to get too elaborate, just provide answers for people. And that's when I started the podcast. But now I'm back to video. And that's why I say it's funny, because that's actually the reason why I started, so I don't have to do the video stuff.
Yeah, but everyone wants to see a pretty face, Ariel. So
no, man, there's a reason why I was really liking a podcast without video. See, I would be able to do the podcast like without a shirt. I mean,
well,
you know what I mean?
I set up a horrible GoPro camera in front of me in a last second dash to meet your expectations to have video today. So I will say the video quality is not going to be fantastic on my end.
No, man, we're gonna perfect this. We're gonna get better. We're gonna get better for sure. And I think it's gonna be cool. And I think it'd be great for people. I think it is cool that people see us and I guess see our interaction, even though we don't see each other. But I think it's gonna be good moving forward. That we do put the podcast on YouTube and have people follow us there.
Okay, I'm excited.
So, what projects do you have going on, man? Tell me about them. I know you've been very, very busy. I know it's been really tough, especially now starting this podcast at the most inconvenient time for you, but you're still grinding it in there, man. What do you got going on?
Yeah, I mean, coming up, and like I said, I've been doing a lot of freelance. This time of year always seems to be the craziest time of year for me. I just finished up a couple commercials. So I finished those off, managed to get those edited and cut. And now I'm just basically finishing up as many videos as I can. I mean, last year I shot for CrossFit at the CrossFit Games in LA. So I'm actually only just now cutting the videos for I shot the teens and the masters. I'm only now cutting the videos. We're only doing Instagram highlights this year for them. So I'm trying to get as many of them out and highlight as many teens and master competitors in the videos I shot last year. So
Right.
I have a plethora of those I'm trying to get out, and a few other videos that I've shot for CrossFit over the last few months. I'm trying to finish those up before the CrossFit Games, which start in August. The first week of August is the big events. I'm trying to finish that up, and there's 3 or 4 other small projects I've been doing on the side that I'm trying to finish as well. So it's a little bit of a juggling act, and being that one-man band that many of us are, trying to juggle as many expectations and timelines has been difficult at this time of year.
I hear you, man. And all these companies, all these CrossFit related companies are just going crazy on you right now because of the CrossFit Games, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are shooting, have commercials that they want put out or getting their content ready to, so when the CrossFit Games go, those commercials go out live. So a lot of people, want all their content due right about now. So for a lot of people that, predominantly that's the majority of stuff I shoot is CrossFit / functional fitness related sports things. So anyone that I've shot for recently is basically asking for all their products due now.
And you've been doing that for this past week, 2 weeks?
Yeah, the last few weeks I've been pretty much doing that. So it's been a bit of a juggling act.
Man, yeah, I've had those weeks, man. That's the thing with this industry, man. You have to really put out whenever they ask.
Well, you said it best there. But
Yeah,
about
man,
yourself? What about yourself? You got anything interesting coming up?
coming up, I'll be in your hood. I'll be in New York I'll be in Philly first, the first week of August, from August 1st to August 3rd. I'm going to be in Philly. But then immediately after that, I'm picking up a car and going straight from Philly to New York to do another project for a few days there.
What
And
kind
then
of project? What kind of project?
So one of my biggest clients is Tyant, and we do a lot of, they sell water ionizers. So I have a contract with them. It's kind of a if they call, I show up kind of deal. And for that, we have a set contract where they just, pay me monthly, and, I produce a certain amount of work for them. And it's kind of like having like a full-time job, but I guess from home, and it gives me the flexibility to just establish to do any other side work, so long as it doesn't interfere with their work. So that's kind of what I have got going on there. So this is one of those trips where they're sending me to 2 places, and just tackling those 2 projects there.
So wait, just a question for you. When your shoot, I know your main camera is the FS5. What's your B camera?
The A6300.
Okay.
I have the A6300, which is pretty much the same thing as the 6500 in terms of image quality. There are a couple of things that I wish I had. Like, the biggest one is the internal image stabilization with that the A6500 has. I hear that that's really, really helpful, and I loved it on the A7S too. And but
then how are you pairing that picture profile? Like, what picture profile are you generally shooting on the FS5 to match with the 65? Because if you're on the external recorder, right?
Right. No, yeah, I don't typically put the A6300 as a B cam. Not usually. And if I do, I'm not shooting on the Odyssey. Okay,
so if you're doing a 2-camera shoot, then you won't use the Odyssey.
Yeah, no, I don't. Okay. Yeah, usually if I'm setting up my B cam for a secondary shot during an interview, it's because I have enough time to do that. And I just rather not use the Odyssey for that, and I'll just pull out my regular small HD monitor to monitor the image. But for my higher end, like for my Tyant shoots, I only have 1 camera, and I shoot 4K everything, and I'll always punch in for a secondary shot.
Okay, then give me some advice then. on what you know right now,
Okay.
especially taking into account the $550 upgrade for the FS5.
Right.
If I was going to buy another camera in the next month or so, what do you think it should be then?
Well, do you plan to keep the FS5?
Yeah, of course.
Well, I guess if you're gonna try and match them, then yeah, the FS5. Like, I don't know. I don't know if going with the FS5 would be the way to go. But see, here's the thing. The reason, all right, the initial reason why I got the FS5 is because I need a full-size video camera
Hmm.
for I want my built-in internal NDs. I love that. That's one of the biggest features that I love about the FS5, the internal ND. The XLRs, obviously, I needed those. The multiple XLRs at that. The ability to go high frame rates if I wanted to.
Hmm.
And just different other features that you just cannot get on one of those regular mirrorless cameras.
Yes, but
Now,
the one thing I'll interject for a second, the one thing that
mhm.
in regards to the high frame rates, and I'm starting to get asked for, and even last year, people were asking me for, could I shoot 4K in 50 or 60p? And the FS5 can't do that. It shoots 4K in 24 and 30p, but not 50 and 60 unless you record externally, which I really don't want to do.
All right. All right. So, all right. If that's the feature that you're looking for, like how often are people asking you for that?
I mean, it's becoming more and more now. So,
Gotcha.
uh,
I mean, the only thing that I can think of is Panasonic. And if like the Eva 1, which is not even out yet, you could look at that. But if you need it now in a month, I would look at the GH5 because that's the only one that is, first of all, it's very cheap, very cheap. You do have the ability to go 4K up to 60p. That's the
yeah, but
only
then,
camera that you're gonna. First of all, you're gonna save money. Has a great image quality.
hmm.
It does have a small sensor though, so it's not gonna be good in low light. But you do have 4K and 60p, so that's something you can consider.
Yeah, it's one of those conundrums. I mean, I'm a huge Canon fan. I mean, the C200 looked like it was going to be an amazing camera, but from what I understand, it's only shooting like MP4 and
Yeah,
what's the MP4? I can't remember the actual specs on it.
yeah. So the C200 is extremely limited. You're gonna get 4K. You have your regular 4K at up to 60p,
Yep.
right? But that's like raw recording. That's raw recording. And if you don't want the raw, because raw is going to be very heavy images, even though it's their 4K, even though it's their raw light, the Canon raw lights, I guess, I don't know, they created their own raw files.
Hmm.
Um, if you were to go down, and here, let me make sure I give you the exact information here. If you were to go down, if you don't want to shoot raw, you would have to shoot. Let me see. You got, all right. So they have the 4K at 8-bit.
Is it
Oh, okay.
8-bit
So yeah, they
MP4?
have they have they have the 60p. Right. They have the 4K, 60p, and MP4.
Yep.
Now, all right. So you have the frame rates at 4K, 24, 30, and 60.
Love
4K,
it. Yep.
which is great. And then at HD, you can go up to 120.
Hmm.
I'm only assuming that it's continuous. Here here's the thing. Okay, so it's at 150 megabits per second, which is not bad. It's not bad for MP4.
Hmm.
Um, it is 8-bit. It's only 8-bit. Everything, all of it, 8-bit. Now I know that you don't care about that.
No, I do
So
care. No, I do care about the. I mean,
the
especially for
bit,
doing color corrections, I care about having. I mean,
yeah,
obviously, if you can get 10 or 12-bit, that's going to be a lot better. But only
ex-
an 8-bit at 1080.
even 4K is 8-bit.
But even
Anything
the
anything in MP4 is 8-bit.
so I either have to shoot 8-bit or I have to shoot raw.
Yeah.
So there's no middle ground there.
That's where I was telling you that. So that's the thing. So there's 3 levels of shooting. You have your, I don't want to say low level, but the levels that for your whatever levels. It's like the beginning is all the 8-bit stuff, which you'll get from your A6300, 6500, A7S Mark II. Your Canon cameras. It's all 8 bits, 8-bit. Then you have, some of those can shoot. It's still 8-bit 420 color space, right? Mm-hmm. Our FS5 actually has HD 10-bit, which is good. It gives us something there. And even at that, it gives us that at the higher frame rates. And then it gives us the option to output a higher quality, a higher output at 10-bit and 12-bit, 4K at up to 120 to 240 frames per second, which is great. We have the option for that at the end, at the highest level. What Canon did with the C200 is they gave us the beginning ground, all the 8-bit stuff, and then the high ground, which is all the raw stuff, 10 and 12-bit, internal. All that, I'm talking about internal. If you want 10-bit mid-ground, 10-bit, even HD or 4K, 10-bit, you have to go external. And that is...
Again, something that I want to avoid.
So. Right. And unfortunately, that's what Canon left you with.
I mean, it's crazy to think if I buy a new camera right now that I'm only going to get 8-bit, is it 420?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it 422? Yep. It's 8-bit 420. Yeah, on a brand new camera when my FS5 already does that, or I'm going to have to shoot RAW. And the reason, I mean, if people don't know, the reason why I don't want to shoot RAW is just the amount of data that's going to eat up and how much time it's going to actually take me to color correct and do it. I mean, it's fantastic if you have the time and you got a colorist and someone else is going to edit for you. You'd have to worry about that.
Yep.
But 99% of the time, I'm a one-man band and I'm shooting, editing, doing my own sound, doing my own production by myself. So there's only so much you can do. And having to then do that much color correction. And I don't mind doing some. I mean, I do it on my S-Log when I shoot S-Log 2 and S-Log 3. I do a little bit of color correction here and there. But I mean, doing it on RAW is a totally different beast.
But here's where I think that, because I do overshoot my projects, because I can easily shoot everything in HD. I don't need my Odyssey to shoot my stuff for like tie-in, for example.
Okay.
The reason I do it is because I like to see, like, I love to just look at the image and be so proud of it, and have that color space to work with. They honestly, they don't ask for that stuff. I have a computer that can handle it, and I think that's part of the reason why you're on the fence about it. It's because you're still working on your laptop, correct?
Yeah.
So I think if you were, and obviously this is going to cost more money, a lot more money. If you were to be on a computer where it can handle it no problem, what I typically do is I charge my clients for storage. That way I don't have to worry about having all that storage because my client's paying for it. I don't care. My computer can handle it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So to me, I don't mind shooting RAW. I just want to have the option of shooting a lower scale. For example, when I shoot with you guys on those events, you guys literally asked me, we're shooting HD. I said, all right, cool. No, not a problem. We'll shoot HD, and I have that option, and I can give you HD at 10 bit and whatever frame rate I want. But if I had to see 200, I can't even offer you that. I have to go lower and I have to give you 8-bit,
Right. Yeah. So it's another one of those Canon things. They always hamstring themselves. When you think they've come out with a fantastic camera, it looks great. I mean, I kind of personally think they look like they kind of mimicked it off the FS5. It looks very similar.
Which one?
The C200. Yeah.
Well, the C100 has been out for the longest time. I think they're going based off that. You know what looks exactly like the FS5 is the Evo 1 from Panasonic.
That's true. Yeah.
It's crazy similar.
Yeah, I mean, but when is that coming out though? That's the
that one I think is coming out September, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but that's we know when with those sales cycle they say September, then
right
it comes out in slow release, and then maybe you might be able to get it by December or January.
Right.
So if I want something kind of right now, it's one of those conundrums. We're like right in between that waiting game. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
fall 2017 for the Evo
yeah.
1. That's something that, man, I'm just so excited. Oh, man, have you heard the features on this camera? I did an entire episode just talking about this camera, and I was loving all over it based on the specs. I'm here drooling all over that
You're one of
episode.
those people. You see, you fall in love with the specs without even testing the camera
Oh yeah, but
first. So,
I don't make a purchase based off the specs though. I could. Hey, there's nothing wrong with falling in love with the specs. Trust
fair
me.
enough. Fair enough.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing. So I love the image of the GH4. I love the image of the GH5. That's the only reference that I'm going off of. If it gives me at least that same image, I'll be happy. And if it gives me the specs as it says, records 4K 60p up to 60p at 10-bit 422 internal. Come on, man. I can get rid of the Odyssey. I mean, I wouldn't, but I don't need the Odyssey every time. You know what I mean?
Right.
The image quality that I'm gonna have is already as good as what the Odyssey is giving me. You know what I mean? And then it records 2K at 200 frames per second internal. Right? And so let's say you want to shoot 200 frames, you're shooting CrossFit games. Let's say you're shooting at night. It has that dual native ISO. Do you know what that is?
No, I don't.
That dual native ISO, basically the dual native ISO, it allows you to set the native ISO for as regular, the native ISO at 100 and then go up if you need more light. Or set the second native ISO, I believe it starts like at 4,000.
Okay.
That way you can shoot in low light, and you don't have to you could set the native ISO to like 4,000, and you're already getting all the light that you possibly need with that high frame rate. So you're not getting all that grain. It does so good in low light, according to this. Again, I haven't seen that to work, but that's the point of the dual native ISO. So that you can go up at much higher ISO levels than you normally would, and obviously you won't be introducing the grain in there. So it'd be basically a really good low light camera.
Well, I mean, I guess the one thing I can conclude from this conversation is that I'm canceling off, sadly, very sadly, the Canon C200. If I'm only getting 8-bit. I just don't think for what I want to do.
You would have to go external if you want the 10-bit.
Yeah, I just really don't want to do that, and I don't want to actually be shooting raw. So,
right.
For fast turnarounds, when a lot of the time, if I need to do something really quick and I've already got my picture profile set, I mean, I'm kind of doing that paint in camera.
Right.
So on fast turnarounds, and if I'm shooting raw. That's just gonna be an extra workload, and with the laptop that I'm on, that I'm usually bringing on set, until Apple really updates those video cards in them, I'm just finding that even in 4K, if I'm shooting in 4K, that my laptop's not handling that. So unless I'm bringing a Mac Pro on set, then I just don't see myself wanting to use that RAW. So that kind of cancels out the C200 very sadly.
Yeah, you won't be able to do much with that RAW on your laptop.
Well, we can only wait and hope and see. So, I mean, it's a lot of purchases to buy. Hopefully, Apple updates their systems soon enough. So, we're all waiting for that new Mac Pro to come out. So,
Did you see that iMac Pro?
Yeah, the iMac Pro is coming out in December, they say, which really means probably February or March. But it's the actual, the old trash can that I have been waiting for since I came to the US in January of last year. I've been waiting for them to update that. So that's why I'm still stuck on my laptop. I'm waiting for that Pro Mac to come out, because buying the Mac Pro right now, why would I buy a Mac Pro now when, it's still basically they updated it recently, but it's really the 2013 specs on it. So,
right.
So I've been waiting for an update to happen, and
you're talking about the trash can.
Yeah,
the Mac Pro.
That's the real Mac Pro.
Yeah, I'm talking about the iMac Pro.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's coming out in December.
Okay.
So
I thought it was interesting that they never do that. They never announce when it's coming out. They only announce it when it's already out.
Yeah, that's one of the first for Mac, but I think everyone like myself was getting a little bit anxious. I
Oh
mean, like I
yeah.
said, I was waiting since last year,
Mm,
thinking that a new Mac Pro was going to be released. I bought an external monitor, waiting so specifically that I would connect my external monitor to a Mac Pro. Everyone
gotcha.
said like, by June of last year that a new Mac Pro was going to come out because they hadn't released them since 2013. So that's why I literally just kept my MacBook and was connecting my monitor to my MacBook, waiting for this new machine to come out so I could actually start editing faster. And
Has it been 4 years since this thing
yeah,
came out? Oh my
yeah.
goodness. Wow.
So, I mean, that's why a lot of professionals are getting quite upset with Apple about not upgrading. So,
Come on,
um,
man. You should know by now how Apple maneuvers.
yeah. But I mean, I didn't think it was going to be that long. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Now we've seen that the iMac Pro is coming out in December, and no one knows exactly how much. I mean, it's saying it's roughly starting at about $5,000.
I believe that's $6,000.
Yeah. But by the time you actually, I mean, that's for the baseline. By the time you actually
Oh
upgrade
yeah,
the video
no,
card,
it's gonna be decked out.
yeah.
This iMac Pro has the features that it promotes. It's almost similar to mine. It's a little bit better than my Mac Pro right now, which is like a Frankenstein of a computer.
Yeah, but the question is, are you going to bring that 27-inch, iMac Pro
Oh no,
on set with you?
no
Yeah.
sir.
And so taking the small like Mac Pro, the little trash can, taking that with you on set and editing on that, it's not. I mean, it's not ideal. But if you are shooting on something, if you are shooting raw, you're shooting
Right.
with something else, like
Well,
it's
what?
feasible to bring that along.
Why not get a super decked out laptop, MacBook Pro?
Well, I kind of have that right now. Mine. I mean, they've only updated my Mac, like the MacBook once, so I'm on what, the mid 2016 model or something. So, but I mean, it's just not standing up. So, I mean,
Really?
yeah, it's at the moment it's just not standing up at all, especially when I shoot 4K. It just does not like me doing any color correction in 4K. I mean, it
What?
handles it, but it's just slow.
Dude,
So,
I've edited red footage on my MacBook Pro.
hmm.
I've edited red footage
I'm
on
not
a
saying I
lap.
can't edit it. I can obviously edit on it, but it's just taking a lot longer than it should. When things are rendering, it's just taking a lot longer than if I was using a Mac Pro. So,
Right, right.
and a lot of that has to do with the video card capabilities. I mean, it just can't keep up, and so that's why, when I'm looking at all these new cameras coming out, I'm like, all right, it's fantastic. It's got RAW, but I mean, there's limitations in that. Yeah,
Do
so.
do you have the latest video card in there?
Well, this is the. I mean, what's my? So this is like.
I got mine 2 years ago, and I remember my laptop is, I couldn't go any higher in the specs that I got. Like that's
Okay.
the max. I maxed it out basically, and it's still a pretty good workhorse, man. I don't do nearly as much editing at all since I got my Mac Pro on it, and I just do just small stuff now, which is perfect for it.
Hmm.
But I remember I was still editing red footage on that from the Red Dragon. I was editing 6K red footage
Hmm.
on it,
Well,
and it was handling it pretty well.
well, this one has an AMD Radeon R9. Looking at the specs, 2048 megabytes. So, I don't know what it is, but
Right.
I mean, it's an i7. It's got 16 gig of RAM, but I'm just finding that things are just way too slow on that. I mean, that's to be expected. I mean, I'm not on a Mac Pro. I shouldn't be editing all my stuff on a on a laptop, but Apple has yet to actually release anything. I mean, the new iMacs are great. I could use that, but I was really waiting for that Mac Pro so I could actually bring that with me when I travel. If I needed to actually edit higher file size. And since that hasn't come out yet, they're saying that 2018, they're going to possibly update that Mac Pro.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a conundrum. Do you wait? So those are all like small things you're going to consider when you're shooting those high file size. Jeez, I'm struggling there.
All right, man. I think we're running out of time here. So I want to, Mike, if you didn't know, we're hosting a contest currently.
Oh, we are?
Yeah, so a couple of episodes ago, I released an episode called The Art of Interviewing. And I go in depth into, I guess, my process and how I interview and how I go about that. So I contacted Rode. They thought it was a good idea. So we hosted a contest in which the top 3 winners are going to receive a Rode Video microphone. One of those on-camera microphones for your handheld DSLRs or mirrorless cameras. And so yeah, we've already had a few submissions. So the contest is, I told everyone that they're going to be conducting an interview, and what I want to see is how the interviewer conducts the interview. And so my request was to submit a video where I can see both the interviewee and the interviewer. It could be done with your camera phone. I don't mind it. I just want to see how they conduct the interview. And that way, I can see and give feedback to what they're doing, to how I think they can correct it, and so on. So I think it's a great way to practice interviewing, because at some point in everyone's career, they're going to end up interviewing someone at some point. So it's always good to be able to have those kinds of skills, and when that time comes, if it hasn't already. So we're currently hosting the giveaway. I announced it. It was only for 30 days, and the deadline is August 6th. August 6th is the deadline for this contest, and on the 7th, which is a Monday, we will be announcing the winners. And
well, I don't need to enter because I actually already own one. That's a great little mic. I use that actually on my 6500, and I use it actually on the Ronin when I'm running and gunning on that. So great
cool.
little mic.
Yeah. So you are obviously disqualified from entering anyways. So,
what?
Yeah. So yeah, I'm mentioning it now, so it's a reminder for everyone that's listening. Get those submissions in. We are closing the deadline on August 6th at midnight, and we're going to make our decisions. Now I'll be judging these videos with Mike, and so he's gonna be seeing them. We're both gonna see them, and we want to see how you guys interview. And even if you don't get in the top 3, like I'll still provide feedback on what I think, how you guys can improve and whatnot. So I think it'll be a pretty fun contest. It's our first contest, and shout out to Rode for hooking it up and sponsoring that one. So that's a pretty cool one. Also, I made my short documentary film public. I recently submitted a short documentary film that I created with a friend of mine that's a quadriplegic. I made a short documentary story on him, and I decided, well, let me use this video to submit it to a few film festivals and see how it does. I don't know, I've never done it before, and I thought it'd be pretty cool.
Nice.
So I submitted them, and I haven't heard back yet, but we'll see. Either way, I did my research, and I was hesitant because I wasn't sure if I could release it out there yet before the film festival season and whatnot. So I found out that I could, and there would be no problem. So I went ahead and made it public. So you can find that on my Vimeo channel. I'm going to be putting a link to that on the show notes on my website at arielmartinez.tv. I think that's it, man. I think that was a good first episode. We did a lot of tech talk.
Yeah, I think we kind of, for all those people out there that aren't shooting on FS5, sorry, we ranted and raved on about that today. But
I think a good takeaway from this episode, even if you don't shoot on FS5 or Panasonic or any other cameras that we mentioned, a good takeaway would be, how we consider our next purchases. The things that we consider according to how we shoot. So one of the things that I always mention is there's never a right or wrong answer. When people ask me what lens should I get, what camera would you recommend me to get, I can never give them a proper answer because, one, they have to consider how they shoot and what they shoot. I can't decide that for them. So it was good to see that, what you're considering, how you shoot, why you shoot it, and what you need your camera to do. With all that information, you're then able to make an educated decision as to what is going to be your next camera. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm trying to, get across to everyone. So I think it was a great episode anyways, and I hope that people got that part of it and, they didn't click away, because I think it's really good to know exactly how you can go about making those purchases. So it was,
I like it.
To me, it was valuable information, I think, to see how I guess we make our purchases and our decisions on our equipment.
In a roundabout kind of way. I think we were a little bit abstract, but I think we.
Oh yeah, no, definitely, definitely. But the point is to understand the concept, to understand
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I tell all the kids at home, don't worry about shooting on anything. Take out your iPhone and shoot on that. That's good enough.
Exactly. See, for me, I love the color. The color for me, it's very important. I like to color my stuff, and so the bit depth is important to me. But anyways, that's just a small examples on how we make our decisions. So I think it's really good. I think it was a really good episode. I think it was a good first episode to have together. Some big decisions coming up, man. I don't want to talk about them yet, at least not on the podcast, but we are making some decisions as to the direction and the future of this podcast. We're trying to see how we go about those decisions. And once again, we're actually shooting video this time, so you can expect this episode, I would hope, to be, if everything goes well, once we, I guess, check the footage, make sure it's good. But you can expect this episode to be up on YouTube soon after the podcast has been released. Cool?
I like it. Sounds good.
All right, bud. It was great talking to you, man. You have that... you have a lot of editing to do, so I'm gonna let you get back to that, and I got a little bit of editing to do on my end too. So all right,
I think we wrap it up.
Until next time. Sorry this episode was late. We were actually trying to get everything adjusted yesterday, and we just literally ran out of time. So yeah, we're gonna try to keep to our schedule of Monday and Thursday episodes. So all right, with that being said, thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Mike. And we'll catch you on, Monday? See you on Monday, bud.